In the kingdom of Eryndor, the sky was always gray, the sun barely a memory. The land was cursed, its once thriving villages now hollowed husks, and the people lived in fear of the Thorned Ones, nightmarish creatures that stalked the shadows. Legends whispered of an ancient pact made with a being called the Thorn King, a pact that had damned the kingdom. The story begins with three unlikely companions drawn together by fate. Seren, a disgraced knight haunted by visions of the people she failed to protect. Corin, a charming thief who always had a joke on his lips even as he hid a broken past. Eira, a mysterious healer whose magic was as unsettling as it was miraculous, with a strange connection to the Thorned Ones. They were united by a single purpose: to uncover the truth behind the Thorn King and break the curse before the kingdom succumbed completely to darkness. Their quest took them deep into the bleeding woods, where the trees oozed sap as dark as blood, and the air was thick with whispers. Seren led the way, her sword always at the ready, though her eyes betrayed her doubt. Corin's humor lightened the mood, though it often earned him icy glares from Seren. What's the worst that could happen? We die horribly, get turned into monsters, and join the Thorned Ones? Sounds like a typical Tuesday. Eira, however, remained silent, her pale eyes scanning the shadows. She seemed to know more than she let on, her presence unsettling even the trees, which recoiled as she passed. Their search led them to the ruins of Gwyndale, an ancient fortress overtaken by the curse. There they discovered carvings that told a chilling story. Centuries ago, the Thorn King had been a mortal, a desperate ruler who sacrificed his humanity to save his kingdom from a plague. He made a pact with a being called Nytheris, a primordial entity of chaos, trading his soul for salvation. The Thorn King became immortal, but the kingdom's salvation came at a cost. Every 100 years, a new pact had to be made, and a human host offered to Nytheris. The carvings ended abruptly, but Eira's expression darkened. "The Thorn King isn't a ruler protecting his people," she murmured. "He's a jailer, keeping Nytheris at bay. For now." As they pieced together the truth, Seren began to suspect Eira's connection to the Thorn King. The healer's knowledge of the curse, her eerie magic, and the way the Thorned Ones avoided her, they all pointed to something sinister. One night, while Corin slept, Seren confronted Eira. "You're hiding something. What are you?" Eira didn't flinch. "I'm the daughter of the Thorn King," she admitted. "My father sent me to guide you because the time has come to choose the next host." Seren's hand went to her sword. "You've been leading us into a trap." But Eira shook her head. "Number, I want to break the cycle. I don't want to be a pawn in his games anymore. But if we destroy the Thorn King, Nytheris will be unleashed. We need another way." Seren was torn. Could she trust Eira, or was she walking into doom? Their journey ended in the Blackspire Keep, the Thorn King's lair. The throne room was a grotesque sight. Thorns grew from the walls, pulsing like veins, and the Thorn King sat upon a throne of twisted roots, his form barely human. "You've done well, daughter," the Thorn King rasped, his voice like rusted metal. "Bring them forward." But instead of obeying, Eira turned to Seren and Corin. "Now!" she shouted. The trio attacked, but the Thorn King was no easy foe. Corin's daggers couldn't pierce his bark-like skin, and Seren's sword was barely enough to hold him back. Eira used her magic to sever the roots feeding his power, but every spell drained her, the thorns creeping up her arms. Finally, Seren delivered a devastating blow, shattering the Thorn King's chest. But instead of dying, the king laughed. "You fools," he whispered as his body crumbled into dust. Nytheris wasn't trapped in the Thorn King. Nytheris was the Thorn King. The being had created the Pact to prolong its existence, taking on a mortal guise to manipulate the kingdom for centuries. With its mortal shell destroyed, Nytheris was free. The shadows coalesced into a massive, formless being of thorns and darkness, its voice echoing with malice. "You've freed me," it purred. "Now I will consume this world." Eira, her body nearly overtaken by the creeping thorns, realized the truth. The only way to stop Nytheris was to become its host. She turned to Seren, her voice trembling. "Kill me before it's too late." Seren hesitated, tears in her eyes. Corin, for once, had no joke to offer. Before Seren could act, Eira made the decision for her. She plunged a dagger into her own heart, the thorns consuming her completely. But instead of Nytheris gaining control, Eira used the last of her magic to bind it within herself. Her final words echoed as her body turned to ash. "Protect the kingdom, and remember me." The curse was lifted, and the Thorned Ones vanished. But the victory was bittersweet. Seren and Corin returned to a kingdom that would never know the sacrifice Eira made. In the years to come, Seren became a knight commander, leading with wisdom and sorrow, while Corin disappeared into the shadows, his humor masking a grief he could never shake. But deep in the bleeding woods, a new legend grew. A figure cloaked in thorns, watching over the land. Some called her a guardian, others called her a monster. And Nytheris waited, biding its time for the day when the cycle would begin again.